Welcome to Split the Defense.
Split the Defense.
A Leafs, Avalanche, and NHL podcast. Hosted by Jordan Webster, Craig Pearce, and producer Ted Evans. Split the Defense is presented by LaForest Electrical Contractors. Professional and efficient service since 2004. Serving the Kingston and surrounding areas. Alongside co-host Craig Pearce and producer Ted Evans. Here's your host, Jordan Webster.
Here we are once again, CP, once again. You know, the sixth consecutive Game 7 loss, another loss to the Bruins, another first-round loss. We've seen this so many times before. I don't even know why we get our hopes up. And you know what? I didn't. I never really did. And you can back me on that. Yep. I was salty the whole time with this team. We're back on Split the Defense. Leafs post-game. I'm Webby with CP and producer Ted in the booth. Thumbs up this episode. Subscribe to our YouTube. Leave us a comment and rate us 5 stars. Only 32 times in NHL history of a possible probably more than 333 times has a team come back and won the series after being down 3-1, and the Leafs couldn't fucking do that. So once again, they are golfing. How are you feeling after watching the game and having a little bit of sleep, CP?
Well, I mean, I guess right after the game, I of course, just devastated. Unlike you, I was bought basically full in after Game 6. Once you see a team play like they did in 5 and 6, it just, I don't know, it's unlike anything we've seen in playoffs previously. Definitely my favorite Leafs team that they've put together, but once again, just a letdown. You know, it's just the same old thing. Even though this team's different, it's still the same old thing, and it obviously gets everyone riled up. And there's a lot of hot takes out there that I think people are going to take back. But it's kind of, now we've got to shift our mind into transition mode and what's next, and what's this next week going to look like, the next month, and then eventually what next season looks like. But obviously just devastation. And from the first play, if we want to actually go back to the game, that final play where, it's a set play, the dump in off the corner boards. Pasternak is just wheeling from the get-go. Everyone's kind of, dogpiling on Marner because, he's technically supposed to get at least a check on Pasta going through, like an arm on him or something. But to me, where it really lies is Riley plays it just so nonchalantly, and Samsonov had a real opportunity to give it a poke check. So I just think that the blame is so widespread on that play that to just pinpoint Marner, I don't think is the right call. You can pinpoint a lot of things in the entire series of how he played in general, sure, but that play in general, not many wingers are going to get even a glimpse of Pasternak flying by him on there. So I think it comes down to the other guys on that, to be honest.
I mean, we did have some standout performances. I wonder how much if Matthew Nyes was standing where William Nylander or Mitch Marner were, if that would have been different. Because he seriously seems to hound guys and dog them. Doesn't matter whether they have the puck they're chasing or whatever. But you're right. And it wasn't Willie's man. It wasn't really Mitch's job to chase him in. Morgan, it's a shit bounce. It came off the boards funny. That's it. I think we all expected it to go behind the net, and I think that's kind of what Marner and Riley were thinking. And it bounced out front, and before they could even react, Pasta's already in, because like you said, he was flying because nobody slowed him up. So, I mean, at the end of the day, your team made a mistake. Who's got to bail you out now?
I mean, it comes down to the goaltender.
Your goaltender. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad we're on the same page here. So I think the most integral part of losing this series was losing Joseph Woll. And on the stupidest play of the season, he on a shot that didn't matter, it didn't count, it made no difference. There was a half a second left. It made no difference. And Joe Woll's not in for Game 7. And it comes down to fucking overtime and one play where I think a lot of other goalies would have made that save.
It's really hard for me to peg it on Samsonov as the letdown and the reason, just because of it is a 1-1 game in a playoff game. going into overtime and just
he wasn't bad. No.
yeah.
So let me cut you off here for a second. Buds All Day Cast says, was Sammy bad? No. Did he let in back-breaking goals at the worst possible time? Again? Yes. And that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm like I said, I put it on him on the top, but I think there's just like a bigger list of things that's wrong with the team, like starting with the power play. That I think that that to me overshadows the general like to blame the series on Sammy or losing Joseph Wall. I think like if you're gonna blame the series, like I think we need to talk about the power play. But I think like yeah, the goalie situation. This team's looking for a goalie. Even though Joseph Wall is a good goalie, he's not one you can rely on. And like you said, Samsonov is prone to letting in back-breaking goals, and so you need to just try and find a different version of him. Someone that's like, similar skills. Like it's not going to be like the best goalie ever, but someone who you can just rely on that's going to be, consistent. And whether that's just like consistently average, that's all you really ask for.
He did speak today in the presser. I didn't clip it because it's brutal. You don't want to hear it. It's really poor English. Yeah. So he basically said that he wants to stay in Toronto. He likes to play in Toronto, and he hopes to get a deal done. He does say he wants term. So I wonder if he's willing to play for cheaper. Do we pay him $2 million as a backup to Wool? I don't know. But I think he did say that he wants to stay here.
Yeah, I think though, like the term part just counts him out. Like, if it was that low, I mean, I guess it's a discussion, but I think I don't think Joseph Wall can be relied on as a starter. Like he's 26, 27 or 25, 26, and he's always had injury problems. And so like, I think he's going to be the best backup in the world. Like he's a guy who like for 20 games a year, I think he's going to be amazing, but I don't think his body
can't those 20 games be the playoffs?
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. That's a strategy I'm not
It was a freak
with.
injury this time too, right? Like, I mean, I know he is made of glass. He's got bad luck, but it was a freak injury diving across the net like that and pulling something. It's not always going to happen. And I wonder how much he learned from that. Like play to the moment, understand.
Did he learn from that one too? Like the injury before that, like, there's this team.
I don't know what happened to him before that.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't know what happened before that. All I'm saying is, Joseph Wall proved to us time and time again this season that he was our number one guy. Then he hurts his ankle and everything goes up in the air. We're all like, I don't know anymore. Maybe it's Sammy. I was sitting here advocating for Sammy. There was one point, though, where we can go back. I flip-flop on this all the time. I said trade him at the deadline because I don't think he's going to be here next year. Yeah. I mean, that would have showed Martin Jones in the net, and I'm not sure it would have went the same in this series. But at the end of the day, they still lost. So, does it matter?
Goalie-wise, I think it was a coin flip as far as goalies. Like, neither one was playing well, and it seems stupid that they played Sammy off the hop, looking in retrospect. But everybody was basically on board that they haven't seen enough good play from Joseph Wall. So, anything you're saying is just, revisionist history. But I think that
absolutely that's what we're doing here.
Yeah, for sure. I just think that like the goaltender to me, I just think it was fine. I feel like you got fine goaltending for the playoffs, and it's not the reason they lost. But I think it's worth looking at a different plan as far as next year. That's where I'm at.
No, the reason they lost is the Maple Leafs scored 12 goals in 7 games, and they went something for like 1 for 21 in their power play, and their penalty kill was also shit. So that was really it. Justin Miller with the comment, special teams killed us more than Sammy did at the end of the day. And yes, but it wasn't a special teams play that ended the game. It just takes one moment. Sure, we could have won the series earlier. Yeah. Sure. And if that's where you want to lay blame, that's where you got to lay blame. Heads have to roll. Things have to change. You don't have to fire everybody. You need a reconstruction. You need a revamp. You need a different system of earning your time. And I honestly think somebody's got to go in the core.
Yeah, before we go like core shopping, let's talk like the power play. I think needs an addition. It's really clear. Like Morgan Riley, as good as he is in certain aspects of hockey, he's never been a playoff or a power play performer. It's just something that we've put our best skilled player on, but this team needs, a real quarterback up there. And I think it changes a lot. I think if you just had someone who is an elite quarterback, like the players on it currently are fine. I'm not sure that they're going to be the players on it, but I think that like it's about time. And the one thing that kind of makes me like I think they're going to go and do this is they tried to with Klingberg, and obviously we all know that didn't work.
Didn't work out.
But if you think about what John Klingberg is as healthy, he's exactly what this team needs. He shoots right, he's big, he has a cannon of a shot, and he quarterbacks a good power play.
I guess because he was hurt, he was real soft. He got pushed off the puck a lot.
Defensively. I'm talking about
in the offensive zone. Give it up. He was stupid. I didn't love the John.
But for the
Klingberg
first 5 games, both of us
saying.
were praising him on his power play ability. Like that's what I'm talking about. Is
5
like maybe
games.
It's someone. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Is like that's like they were looking for that. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that John Klingberg was a good player, and like the right player. I'm just saying like the identity of what he is.
Yeah, you're right. That's what they were looking
they're
for.
Looking for.
And Matthews came back on that in that game 7. He was clearly a shell of himself, 20%, probably 30%, maybe. He was put on line 3, and in period 1, his line outshot the Bruins 4-0. He ended up setting up the first Nylander goal, where we all thought the game was over. We all thought, oh shit, we might have this one iced here. It felt like a first person to score wins, and it all changed pretty quickly. But at the end of the day, a lot of this in the power play and whatever, like if Willie's there from the start, is the power play better? If Matthews doesn't miss a couple of games, is the power play better? Like they played a defensive gem, and I'm hearing that Guy Boucher is to blame for that. They played really well defensively. That's Guy Boucher hockey. You got Sens fans yelling it from the rafters, but he also controls the power play.
Yeah.
Right. So do you put it on coaching? Really? Like I don't know. They had 25% during the season. They were good. And then all of a sudden, their guys got hurt. It's shit luck. Mitch is still coming back off an injury. Like, you got to take all that shit into consideration why the power play wasn't good.
They weren't good, though, for quite a stretch going into the playoffs. And, like, the big difference to me is, like, so is Boston. But Boston shook it up, and the Leafs didn't. The Boston Bruins figured out their power play, and the Leafs didn't. And it's just, I think it's more of the players controlling the coaching, and there's like a lack of innovation because their hands are tied, because these players get just absolutely everything they want, and there's going to be a hissy fit made if someone's taken off that top line, unless it's John Tavares, who I'm pretty sure is the only one who wouldn't bat an eye. So yeah, I don't know what the issue is, but yeah, it's clearly a coaching issue. And I think just like the quarterback thing is a big part of it. Like the defenseman handles the puck more than anybody on a power play. And I think just that in general, I think is a bigger difference than like Willie not being on the power play for the first few games. So yeah, I think it's about adding someone.
You're absolutely right. I don't want to jump around too far, but Friedman on Kipper and Born today says he thinks the Leafs will have high interest in Brandon Montour and Brett Pesce to fill out the D-Corps this summer.
That's like both, because like those are kind of different players.
I think he's gonna like them. They were talking about Tanev, how good Tanev is right now.
Yeah,
which we'll be talking about him because he'll be playing Colorado here. But
I can see Tanev and one of those guys, but not both Pesce or Montour.
Elliott dropped that. I think they're going to seriously inquire about Montour and Pesce. It wasn't or, it was and. I specifically heard and that's why I wrote it down.
So like I like both those players but for very different reasons. I think that Brett Pesce is like one of the best two-way players in the game, a little bit heavier on the defensive play, I think. Where Brandon Montour is more of a offensive specialist with a little bit of two-way game. So like I think like yeah, that's why I said both of them, because they're not serving the same role. Where I could see Tanev, there's an argument he's more similar to, Pesce, but with more of a defensive edge. But I think that Tanev's going to be much cheaper. I think those are expensive defensemen too, and that's what. As soon as the Leafs get it eliminated, it's hard to not get excited about the next thing if you're talking about something like Montour or Pesce, who are like two defensemen I've just been praying for them to go after. I think I sent you a bunch of things about getting Montour on this team, just depending on what the cap hit would be, because this is just. He's a player that this team's missing, and he could be a good power play guy. One thing, though, that always shocks me is that Brandon Montour is older than I always think. He's 30 years old now, and to me, he's like he seems 26 or something.
He's younger than you.
I know, but I just mean as a hockey player, it's like I always think Montour, because he just broke out in the last few years, that he's a younger player. But this is a guy you don't want to give up too much money to
He's in his
down
prime.
the road. Yeah,
I think you could happily sign him to a 4 or 5 year deal at 6.5 or something. And I mean, like, you're not going to get all your forwards back this year. You're probably going to and we're talking like, this is an if. We kind of veered here, but this is if one of those big contracts are gone. Right.
Yeah,
So then you got all sorts of cap space opened up, and that's a totally different story. But you're right. Puck movers from the back end, guys who can quarterback the power play, defensemen who don't just up and out the glass. Simon Benoit was fucking awesome. Jake McCabe is awesome. There's massive talks that the Leafs are going to try and re-sign Jake McCabe. He likes it here. I don't see why that wouldn't be done. I just see it happening. So Jake McCabe will probably be back. Benoit's here on a sweetheart deal for like 3 years, and he played his ass off in the playoffs. So hopefully that trends up for next year. But I mean, like, you need a guy like Brandon Montour, I think, more than a Brett Pesce.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's a luxury, but
yeah, but it's not a luxury though, because every team needs a top power play quarterback, and we just don't have one. So it's not about luxury; it's a missing piece. So like, you have to fill.
Well, you're gonna have to give him more than Mo, I guess, right? Because like, think he's gonna make more than Mo.
Mo's in an interesting situation. I don't think anyone should be compared to his contract, because, like most players, he signed it when he was playing his absolute best. But if he's not providing any offensive upside in the playoffs, then what's the extra money for? Like, we're paying you 7.5 when you're playing like a 5.5
last year.
Yeah. And everyone was relying on him to be great again. Like, how many times did people say playoff Mo all season long when he wasn't playing well? So yeah, didn't show up though. So I don't know. The contract, I would give probably Montour, I was thinking, would be more in the Riley neighborhood, going to free agency. Yeah. Versus like 6.5. But and that's where, like, yeah, we're now got to talk about if we're trading away a core player or not. Yeah.
Well, now I'm not going any more than 4 years tops. That's way too much money to be giving a guy when he's 35, 36 years old. There's just no way. So yeah, maybe UFA. The money goes up if it goes down. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Somebody's going to pay him that. So it's going to be tough, but if there's money out, there will be money back in. So of all the guys that took the locker clean out today, Morgan Riley, on the topic of him, took it the absolute hardest. We have a clip here from him about how he's feeling after the loss.
Right. Feel this year maybe more than ever.
Why is that?
I'm not sure. I think partly because of Game 7 overtime, partly being on the ice for the goal, partly age. Just I think every year gets more challenging.
How much do you
honestly? Sorry, that's okay.
How much do you relive that last play?
Oh, a lot.
What did you see?
It's hard to describe. I don't know.
Yeah, he's clearly upset. Of all the guys, he definitely took it the hardest. We have a few more clips we'll get into here later in the show. But Morgan Riley, how much do you think about that play? His facial expression has changed. He went from media training to I'm a human. A lot, man. A lot. Believe me. Yeah. He's taken this probably the hardest out of any Leaf. And, I don't know. I don't want to get rid of him because of that kind of heart. And I just know he has it in him, but he said it in that clip. Age, he's not getting any younger, and it's only getting more difficult, he says. So, read into that what you will, but it could have another boat anchor of a contract on Morgan Riley when we're trying to get a guy like Brandon Montour, and we look 3 years down the line. It would have been just so much better to have him who was performing instead of, but, you don't want to get rid of Mo, but I don't know, man.
I think that Morgan Riley is third on my trading the core. If there's 5 guys on this core, he's third. I'm talking to John Tavares first. I'm going to Marner second. And then if I can't figure out anything there, then I guess like maybe Riley is somewhere I look. But I think he's pretty safe as far as trading the core. And then obviously they're not trading Willie or Matthews. There's just no way. So yeah, I think that, it's all about just how does the other talks go? Like, does Tavares want to leave for a year and then come back? Or does he want to sign July 1st, just like the most sweetheart of a deal? Like, that matters to me of whether or not I want him around next year or not. But ultimately, I think it's Marner is in a situation where I'm not sure if he wants to be here. I'm sure he
said
ideally,
today he did.
yeah, I think ideally in his mind, it's a great, beautiful picture. But I think that he said that like it's a goal, but it's not like he's saying that it's the only thing he wants to do. Like I haven't even considered going anywhere else because he already admitted that last year he thought about and like considered what it would be like to play for another team. So I think that he's probably having these thoughts too. Like maybe I do go to Carolina or Nashville or Seattle or Utah. Pick the city that's willing to just praise Marner for everything he does, battle to get a team to the playoffs because that's what he's best at. I think he thrives on another team. It's like his eyes might be opened up, his might feel looser in the playoffs. Maybe he becomes just a different type of player somewhere else. I just think that it's so clear that the pressure crumbles this man. It's hard to watch sometimes. He's a guy that I love watching in the regular season, but I just can't help but point out that he just is unexisting almost in the playoffs, except for his defensive play. It's just whenever he is making a play, I'm not agreeing with what he is doing. So
they put on a defensive gem. I'll give you that. But his style is not suited for the playoffs. The Leafs just don't have the horses to run the kind of race that they were trying to run. And Mitch Marner eating all that time, taking top minutes, supposed to be the guy that contributes. That just doesn't work. Mitch Marner will probably win a cup as a third liner or something. And you'll be like, I can't believe they have an $11 million or whatever the hell he makes $12 million player on the third line. He's going to win a cup with that team. But that's probably what it's going to take for this guy. I just don't know if he's got it here anymore. But yeah, JT, 100%. Like, that's the guy that I would be asking to move. I mean, it's run its course. Like, I get you're the captain, you're Toronto boy, but like, you need to at least have a conversation. We got a clip here, JT's comments, and it's really short, and I'm just sick of hearing it.
That this same core, this same group could get a different result next year?
We're right there. I mean, it's a very small difference.
Right there. You were not right there. You had to take a shitty Bruins team who's going to get smoked by the Panthers to 7 games in overtime. You were not right there. You were never right there. The closest to right there you were was last year, game 1 of round 2, and then you realized where you actually were on the food chain. No. So Tavares produces at like a third or fourth line level in the playoffs lately. He has not been good. He is 100% the one that needs to go. And it's like unfathomable for everybody to think of that. But like, that's the guy. Once he's gone, this team is going to have so many less problems. And if Mitch is gone by then, we're going to be like, fuck, I wish we kept Marner because now we have all that money.
Yeah, like the thing that bugs me is Tavares plays hockey like he's clocking in to be a janitor or something. And it's just like, man, like you need to have more, like, I was going to say more of a brain, but like, and that might seem a little harsh, but like, it's just like, don't you know who you're talking to right now? And you're going to spew that out to the fans again. Like everyone else had the right mind not to say anything like that.
I don't know. What about Willie's? Did you hear Willie's comments?
Yeah. Like they didn't feel like as much of a repeat.
He says, look, I don't think there's an issue with the core. I think we're fucking right there. We battled hard and got to game 7 OT. That's a shitty feeling. Willie was pissed. But they both think they're right there. They're not fucking right there. Are they kidding themselves? Are they lying to us? Like, is this just trying to get through the media session and media training shit that you say? Because like, that's bullshit. They're not right there. Like a maximum of 5 wins in a Stanley Cup final in the last like fucking 20 years or whatever it's been. That's not right there. It's never been right there.
No, it's not right there. No, I think that I like the emotion more from Willie, but I think that like Tavares is just like a full stop. Like you just don't get it, man. Like I know you like to play here, but it's just he's not understanding. So I worry they move JT and then make the same mistake by going after Stamkos in free agency.
That's not gonna happen. He's staying in the.
He's staying, but just to think about that for a moment, like I think that if it all depends, like I saw up here too, like another comment was what would you pay to get rid of the $11 million contract? And it's like, well, like to be honest, it's gonna be like a 5.5 because I'm not sure anyone's gonna take it at 11 million. Like unless this is Chicago, who wants him as a leader, like any team that's thinking about winning, doesn't want to take on that full cap hit unless it's just a true, like, we'll take this on for a first round draft pick, because he's really only owed $1 million in actual cash. And that would be like the Arizona Coyotes, who aren't here anymore. So like, I don't know. It's a weird situation of who that actually call would be to, but I'm not sure he's not worthless. Like, there's a lot
No,
of
he's not
teams.
worthless. He's just not worth his contract. Maybe about half of
No.
his contract.
Yeah. And if a team wanted to take on the whole 11, if they were able to, say like Chicago, where I think a leader like him, I think like would be a good spot for him. I think that it's gonna be out of the price range, to be honest. Like, what this team doesn't like just pick first round draft picks off trees, and all the prospects we have are useful. Like, I don't know. Like, we were talking about this nightmare season forever, and like we're here.
Here we are.
Yeah. They do, even if you go on their cap friendly page, it says 20 million, but there's like so many positions missing. And one of them is a goalie, which is a big, you're going to pay for a goalie of any caliber. So yeah. And if we're talking about Montour and Brett Pesce, like, yeah, this money dries up real quick. So don't get fooled by how much the cap friendly looks.
You start allocating it to the back end instead of the front end, and it just starts to look like a little bit of a different team. That's all. The Bartman commented here, 1 goal away from winning the series is right there. Right there to what? Going to get your ass kicked against the Florida Panthers again? Like, they didn't have a chance against the Panthers. The Bruins don't have a chance against the Panthers. Like, do you even watch hockey? And not to be rude, but like, those guys are fucking good. Like, that's why I half gave up on this team. I was like, well, we can't beat the fucking Panthers. Look at how good they are. They're a wagon, right? Like, I just don't see, even if we got past this Boston series, there was no chance of getting through the next one. So, I mean, right there from what? Not losing a first round? Is it really that big of a deal to just get into the second? How many Stanley Cups are awarded in the second round?
Yeah, and like there's this like scenario where there's like a bad situation if they go through this round and then they get destroyed by Florida and just everything stays the same. And that's where a lot of Leaf fans wanted them to lose after game 5, because it was just like, just get it over with. Everyone knows that you're losing in 7 and we don't want any hope of bringing this back. And like, I can never take that stance in the middle of a series because I'm full Leaf fan. I can't not cheer for them. But at the same time, like, looking back, and and at the time, obviously, I could see that, yes, that would be the nightmare situation, is where we just get just enough hope where we just keep doing it again and again. So I like, when we're talking about like what it's going to cost and where these guys are going, like, it's way too early to like talk about it, even because like there's just so many different scenarios, and even just like what's the front office differences going to be, because that changes a lot of this as well. Like, there's a scenario where Brendan Shanahan gets fired and there's too much of a delay to really make any move, and then we're in the same situation by like last year where there's a new guy in town and he doesn't want to make any rash decisions right away. So I mean, that scenario is still there too.
It's fair enough. It's fair enough. All right, Bartman, you know what? He might be right. He might have been referring to winning the series. And I pulled his comment out of context because I don't want to hear we were right there again. Right there from what? Like, were you satisfied last year going against Florida in the second round and losing like that? I wasn't. And you could just see that this team didn't have it. And it sucked, right? It sucked. Can't you just say that? I need to be better. Things need to change. We need to change. Don't just tell me we were right there. I get it. You almost beat the shitty Bruins, but you weren't getting any further than that.
Like, I don't want to sound like just like a crazy Leaf fan, but like every series you have to kind of look at independently, and like there is a chance that they could pull off a win against Florida. So like, I just feel like it is a little bit out of context, but I think it's also that like Willie, even just saying that, is missing the point. And I think that's part of it, is that like we want these players to see the team like we see them. And so to say that like we're right there,
Read the room.
I think, yeah, like Matthews knew, and Riley knew to like, don't say that
Keefe
we're right
knew.
there. Yeah, like, because like we all know that we're not, so like I think that even Willie knows that they're not like right there in Tavares, but I think it is slightly out of context, but at the same time, like, yeah, read the room.
Yeah, no, straight up.
Yeah.
So we're talking about getting rid of Mitch Marner, but Austin Matthews has a theory that, we're just picking on Mitch. Let's get that clip here.
In this market from time to time and now as well. Well, I mean, I think in my time here, you've learned, or I've learned that, there's always a scapegoat, there's always a narrative, there's always something, and we love Mitchie. He's a great teammate, he's a great friend, and a competitor, and so in the end, we're also human beings. So taking we take on a lot as players, and rightfully so. So, when you see guys kind of go through stuff like that, it's hard on everybody, and you just try to support him and be there for him.
So do you think he's just a scapegoat and just the guy to blame this year?
I think I agree with everything that Matthew said there. We do always need a scapegoat. If it's not Jake Gardner, then it's Barry, or it's Justin Hall, or it's also Marner throughout some of those too. So like, he is correct, but this team picks their scapegoat wisely, because it's
Well, we're not
unarguable. Yeah, it's unarguable the soft plays that he makes. And like, a lot of the arguments that I hear for him just don't equal what the expectation is. And I hear also like some people saying like, well, why doesn't Tavares get held to the same standard? It's because it's so blatantly obvious that he shouldn't be held to the same standard. Like, his contract, he's obviously overpaid. It's just like, why talk about that? Because everybody knows it. Mitch Marner is the one that like you actually have to have a discussion about. And so that's why these clips go viral, is because it's the thing to discuss. People have different opinions on it. Even just like Nick Kyprios today almost made me sick on how much he was defending him. But like, that's going to happen. Like I like fully disagreed with him on a lot of the topics, but it's being talked about because like, he has some points, like that's why it becomes a thing. If we want to talk about what Tavares does wrong, it's just like, everyone's just like, yep, agreed. Yep, agreed. Yep, he's not worth 11. Yep, he's probably more like a 3 or 4th line player.
Cooked.
Yep. We all know.
We were all happy to have him, but like, it's run its course, and it's just not that player anymore. Right. And now we're supposed to be like, oh, well, it would have been fine because we would have had a cup by now. And this last year doesn't matter. But now we're going into a year where it truly does matter. And that really sucks. It really, really sucks that we didn't get the full out of John Tavares. But, apparently we were to expect this from the beginning. But yeah, we all agree on that. The other side of it is everybody hates Mitch, right? Like, everybody at one point or another will hate on this guy for something. He made a comment today. And I honestly, I think it was blown way out of context.
Obviously, we're looked upon as, kind of gods here, to be honest. And, something that you really appreciate, and the love that you get here from this fan base and this attention is, kind of none like any other. So.
Oh, man.
So are you jumping on the hate train for that? Like,
I mean, it's
no,
just... It's so...
Have you been on Twitter? We do treat them like gods. Everybody is holding them up on a pedestal. We talk about statues and people dedicate their whole personalities to this team. Yeah, absolutely. Him saying that, maybe it didn't look the greatest, but I don't think he was wrong.
He's just so bad with the words that he chooses, is he correct? Yeah, probably.
Yes, he is.
But is it something you come out and say in a press conference when everyone already hates you? No, it's not. It's the wrong words to choose. It makes my skin crawl just listening to it. And I semi agree with what he's saying, the point that he's taking, but I really have to, put my feet in his shoes and know that this guy is someone who always says the wrong thing. And then it's just like, okay, I understand where you're coming from. But again, it's just, he's from day one of him talking to the media through his agent, when money became any part of this discussion with Mitch Marner, I can't stand anything he ever says at a podium. It's just he handles everything the wrong way. I sometimes get confused if he is if some of his points he even means, or it's just he gets mad and just spews whatever it is.
Shit.
Yeah. He's so hard to read, and for a guy who just wants to play here so much, he's really taken the wrong course to having the city love him. And and he says that we treat him like a god, but I don't know, it's hard to these days find someone who's a hardcore Mitch Marner fan. If I ask 10 people, I'm not gonna find one. I probably have to go to the hundreds before I'm like coming across someone and be like, oh yeah, Mitch Marner's my favorite player. I think that he's going to be the player to take him through the playoffs. It's just like, man, do you watch the playoffs? Like in the offensive zone, it's just like despicable the way that he plays. It's just,
It
is
just
what it
doesn't
is.
work. He needs to change something. He needs to get stronger or bigger or change his game or something, but that's just not how he has been so good. That's I think Justin Bourne was the one to point it out in an article that he wrote. But what Mitch Marner does during the season and what he was doing during this postseason weren't too different. He's an east-west guy, and that's how he plays. He likes to go east-west, south. But in the season, he also goes north sometimes. Just takes the puck, skates it around a defender, and goes. In every clip that he uses as an example, he just passed it backwards, passed it to the side. And how many times can you really remember Mitch Marner picking it up at the least blue line and driving it into the other end? He didn't. It was always a run up and dump in. He just didn't have that, or he'd get it at the top of the zone and lose it. Yep, and that's exactly it. So he needs to find his regular season self too, and just take it and drive into the zone more rather than being so worried about making a mistake, I think. Because he's really good, right? Like he is really good.
Yeah.
He's got the skills to do it.
Yeah,
that's why we're all so confused about this guy. We know that he's going to be good. Whether it's here or it's on another NHL team, the guy's going to go down as one of the fucking great NHL players. Like he's awesome. He's going to score a shit ton of points. But at the end of the day, unless he figures it out in the playoffs, he might just be forgotten.
Yeah, that's the point. Like it's conclusive that he's a great regular season player, an amazing regular season player. And that's where I think that a team that has never been to the playoffs in the last decade would look at him and be like, well, we need the one thing that we do for sure need is someone to get us there. And so like that's where I think his value hasn't tanked totally. But for a contender, I'm not convinced he'll figure it out somewhere else. I think he'll be a great player somewhere else, but I'm not sure his style's ever going to work in the playoffs. And like
he's got to change that.
Yeah. And in the last like 3 games of the Leafs this season, like I like their play, like I like their style of play. I think they have a few of the wrong players to play that style, and they haven't done it for long enough. Like you need to do that for 82 games, be a slightly more boring team, score more playoff style goals, and then you can be better at your forecheck. Know how to forecheck. This team was dumping and chasing, but not so successfully. I think Bertuzzi was the best guy at chasing because he knows how to play that style. But like the rest of them, like it's new. I don't know. Like, and that's where I'm not sure if the team's like just finally buying into what Keefe is telling them, or if Keefe is just in game 4 saying like, hey, everything that we've been doing for 5 years, scrap it. We're gonna play like a playoff team, and then it slightly worked. Like I'm just not sure when did the gameplay come in to just only dump and chase?
Game 83.
Right. Like, what the hell?
They didn't do this, and we complain that they didn't get themselves ready, that they weren't playing playoff-style hockey. They were playing Harlem Globetrotter shit trying to get Austin Matthews 70 goals. And, you can probably put some blame right there as to why they weren't ready in this series against not a good Boston Bruins team. Again, not like it would have really mattered, but
I'd say it's like more like
had a chance going to another couple games.
Like it took them a while in this series though to start like fully buying into that. There's a little bit of like, oh, what we're doing isn't working, so like, hey, we got to dump it. But I feel like there was a pretty drastic change to me when the season was on the line, and I just don't know like where did the information come from? Is it from the players or is it from the coaches who changed their mind on how they wanted to play these games?
Guy Boucher is what I've heard.
Oh my God. I hope not. I want Guy Boucher out of here.
Yeah, me too, a little bit.
Yeah.
Sounds like Keefe might be out of here. Let's do Keefe Leafs beat themselves.
Obviously, it was a tight series on both sides. For your team's perspective, what was the biggest challenge generating offense?
Well, they're a very structured team. They do a very good job through the neutral zone, and they protect their net as well, or better than most any team in the NHL. And they were content to do that. They were content to do that. It's very evident. Teams play the Leafs. They set up the game for the Leafs to beat themselves. And I thought we did that in game 3 and 4. We beat ourselves with how we played it at home.
He did end up with us. We beat ourselves with how we played at home. But have you ever once heard him refer to the Toronto Maple Leafs as the Toronto Maple Leafs? Does he go like, well, Sheldon Keefe needs to be better? I don't think he normally speaks in third person.
No, I mean, I've heard a lot of people like kind of picking at that. Like, okay, he's fired already, right? Because, and once he was talking about the past when the series they just played, he referred to us again, So it's like, yes, the future Leafs he is not part of. The past Leafs he is part of.
That's
I think it's a
very good point.
no-brainer. You just you can't sell me on this team without a new coach. Unless it was you got rid of Tavares and Marner, then possibly I could be sold on the coach again. But I think it's just you start there. I think that, everyone's talking about Craig Berube, or, Joel Quenneville if they talk to the NHL. But, that is the style of coach, I think, that needs to whip a team into shape to be a playoff team. Did you see that clip? It might have been you that sent it to me. I'm not sure, of the comparison between Berube and Keefe in the locker room before the game. And it's just like one guy is coaching a Stanley Cup team and the other one's trying to win their high school, championship.
Go and make sure you have fun and stay loose out there. And then Craig Berube is fucking ready to run through a wall.
Yeah.
Big difference. Big difference.
Huge
And
difference.
the talk about that was it's not even for that was for Mitch. That was for Mitch who tenses up in these games. That's what a lot of people said. You don't talk to a whole 33 and 35-year-old veterans you got in that room. It wasn't for them. Right?
Well,
that was
they
for
need
Mitch.
and that's a big huge problem. Because you need everyone in as much of a playoff performer Joel Edmondson is, he also has to get up for this game. You just don't show up for a game 7 in the playoffs and just play your best. If you watch football, in football teams, there's a huge difference between a team that gets ramped up in a dressing room versus a team that doesn't have leaders like that. It's the difference between winning and losing. And hockey is a closer sport than football is. I think that the differences are closer. There's a smaller gap between the best players and the worst players. And if you're not there to perform your best, work hard, then you're not going to perform as good as you are talent wise. And that all starts in that dressing room. And how do they feel going out of there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got one more Keefe clip, I think. And we'll chat
I'm in the coaching business, and when you're in the coaching business, you don't get to make decisions about your position. So for me, it's out of my control. My job is to find solutions and help direct and create a path for our team to continue to move forward, and that's my focus. I understand that ownership and management, they make those types of decisions. As I said, I accept responsibility for not meeting results. I believe in myself greatly. I love coaching the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now more than ever, I believe in myself and our team, and that I will win and our team will win. I've been through a lot, as a coach in my career, and to get to this level, and I've won a lot, before coming here. And the path always looks different, but you learn along the way, and I've learned a lot through my experience, and I know I'm in a good place. That decision's out of my control. My job is to continue to work to find solutions and continue to improve as a coach, and then at the same time, take accountability for the fact that we haven't met expectations. And decisions like you're alluding to are out of my control, but I certainly would like the attention and focus to be on me as the head coach or the leader, and you got to be accountable when you don't meet expectations.
I was so in and out on that. It felt like he was talking a lot about Keefe. He feels like he's really separating himself from this Toronto Maple Leafs team right now. Well, he throws in how much he loves to be here, but everything else that he's saying feels like he's got one foot out the door already. We have a press conference coming up on Thursday. Do you fully expect there to be a new head coach or Friday now? Do you think there's going to be a new head coach by then?
First, so Keefe, I think that was just his first job interview. He made
That's what it sounded like to me too.
Yeah, he made a video resume and he just put it out to the entire world. And it's probably that his best friend in Pittsburgh comes and swoops him up. But I've also heard that ownership doesn't want to move on from the coach there. But I think regardless, someone is going to scoop him up. Yeah, he knows that it's off. He said all the right things. of taking accountability, still praising the city he like is coaching, technically employed by, but like pointing out all the ways that he thinks he can be different, and he's now figured out the key. He's never believed in himself and in the team more, and he separated himself there. We're like, I'm gonna have success,
I'm gonna win,
and I
then,
also think
wait, we want to win too.
yeah,
right? Like,
also those guys as well too, because we're still talking about what was your question? Oh yeah, management.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah, right. Yeah, I don't have that decision. There we go. I got all my.
Yeah, I know.
points.
He went. You think he went on a little bit of a tangent there, eh? And kind of lost what he was saying. So
he
I'm not
recited
sure
that
if
in the shower like 5 times before he stepped out there. Like when he woke up this
no
morning,
doubt.
he was just like, okay,
that was written. Yeah.
regardless of the question, this is what I'm going for, and then I'll answer the question at the end.
Yeah, that's fair. So I don't know if it's 2 or TO, and I apologize for that. But the press conference has moved to Friday. It will feature Tree Living Shanahan, who I guess will not be fired by Friday, and the new CEO, Keith Pelly. So, no Shanahan being gone by Friday. That's an interesting decision. Do you not think if anybody's head should roll, it should be the guy that designed this whole thing from the beginning?
I just realized that I didn't answer your question from the last time. I just ranted about Keith. And I don't think there's going to be a new coach by Friday, but I think he will be fired by Friday. And they'll come out and tell us the hunt is on. We'll let you know.
Did you see Biz Nasty and Craig Berube on TNT the other night?
Yeah,
He
that
drops
was an awkward moment.
Like,
yeah.
Can you not? Like,
yeah. I mean, there is rumor he's holding out to see all the different positions available. I would think that he's the guy they bring in. Joel Quenneville, I think, would probably be the better coach, but there's a lot of controversy there, and he is just going to stir up too much of a storm for how
here.
Yeah. And for the difference in how different of a coach I think they would be, and like talent wise or however you want to put it, I don't think it's enough for that whirlwind. Berube is a great coach. He has a cup. That's I think what everyone wanted here is someone with experience, and Mike Babcock ended up being just the biggest asshole ever. So that didn't work out. But I think that it'd be hard to find a better type of coach than Craig Berube. And so I think he is kind of the guy they go to. Is your new question, Shanahan. I think Shanahan has done way more good things for Toronto than he has mess up. And
he's been here like too long. It's run its course.
I think that like that's when
we have
change
one first round win.
I think that's when you change GMs and everything. But if you look at all the things behind the scenes that he's changed, this is a vastly better organization than it was 10 years ago. Like vastly on a different planet.
God,
yeah. It's not even.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so
Off
I think
the ice. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's a lot of I think that's important when you're talking about his job. And he has a supervisor now. I'm not even sure what Shanahan does now, other than that his name is there. Because the boss ahead of him makes all the decisions. The guy below him comes up with all the ideas. So he's just in the middle as a messenger between the president
like a consultant
and the GM.
now.
Yeah.
So apparently there's talk, Elliot Friedman said that if they do get rid of Brendan Shanahan, there's already been talks within MLSE if they even need that position. So it might just be Tree Living reporting directly to Pelly.
Yeah, I think it almost might be already and going forward this season, but you still keep Shanahan just for you're going to fire Brendan Shanahan? That's a story that I don't even you'd rather just keep paying him, you'd rather instead of that, store, make him feel important, give him the jobs here and there, come up with, arena ideas or something, do something cool. And, all of the stuff you do with the veterans and the, alumni here, keep doing that stuff, find yourself a new Jason Spezza. But I just
don't touch this fucking hockey team.
Yeah. Just we got it. You can be the name of it.
Let the guys who are doing it do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Let these guys do it. Yeah.
I think to really get the fan base back on board, they're really going to have to double down on the style of players that they acquired, the style of players that they used this summer. And that will get us back excited about the team because Tree clearly has a vision. The way he likes his team built. And, losing a guy like Bobby McMahon, I know it's just Bobby McMahon, but that sucks. I might have had a different tune against this Bruins team and about this team in total if we had Bobby McMahon, right? But he's just it's another luxury piece that you would have had on your second or third line that would have done that for you. But drives to the net, shoots the puck, forechecks hard. Tree goes and gets a few more guys like that, rounds out this defense core, and I think that we're all singing his praises, right? I don't think that we're all going to give up if, you know, Shanahan's not moved on from or if Keefe's still here. But am I wrong in saying that if at least something doesn't change, then we're all going to go crazy?
Yeah, I think the reason I don't even really consider that is because there's been very few decisions that Brad Treliving's made where I disagreed with. And like, not everyone can be correct, you know, and both Brad Treliving and I have made some swing and misses together. But I think that like, I think he clearly sees the problem here. And just the type of players he's brought in, I think it's a new identity. It's what the Toronto Maple Leafs should be. Like, this is a blue collar fan base and they deserve a blue collar type of team. And I think that he's willing to deliver that. So I'm not worried about, you know, that. I think he is going to bring in players that we're on board for. And just all the things that, you know, we're talking about Montour and Pesce, like Brett Pesce, I've been just clamoring to get on this team for 3 years now. He's been my number one trade target. Every time everyone puts him on the trade board and I go, is that guy really available? Like, go and get him. But, you know, it actually could be like, you know, the time now. But like you say, there's a lot that has to be done before you can go, you know, not that he's a huge big fish, but kind of for the Leafs, he's a big fish hunting here. So, yeah, I guess we'll see. But I'm not worried about buying the Leaf fans back in. Just firing the coach, I think, and you bring in some more Bertuzzi types, Domi types, and I think everyone's forgetting about, you know, how it and well, not forgetting. We always talk about it all year long until next season, but we can at least look forward into the season. And, you know, I'm already kind of getting past the elimination and looking forward. It still hurts, and that's what kind of gets me still liking this team, is that like this is only year 2 of Brad Treliving, and I was pretty down in the dumps when Dubas was here. This is
year 1.
Yeah, or we're going into year 2. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's had not even a full off season with this team.
Yeah. So like to me, and it's the first time that there's been a GM with the same mindset that I think that we need. Yeah, everything that Dubas did, I hated and always felt like I was the odd man out because I thought he was dumb in everything he did. But I've never felt more vindicated that this type of team, what we put together this year, was better than years past. Even though, you know, they won a round in years past, that it doesn't feel like that was a better team than this team. We obviously didn't go far, and it wasn't enough for the playoffs, but it's the right direction. And I think that the guy at the helm making better choices. So.
Yeah, for sure. 2 is not nailed it right on the head. The issue is the team's got slower in their play style. This has heavily impacted scoring. Teams should go back to the days of spreading scoring across Kadri, Matthews, Marleau, Marner, and Nylander. And I remember when that team was fast. I remember when the Leafs were considered a young, buzzing team and they were quick. And now all of a sudden you watch them and they are just getting stopped everywhere. They are not fast. You have nailed that right on the head. They need to be faster and they need to be a little bit stronger to win those puck battles, 100%. And finishes up, 2 says, team is now built for top-heavy scoring. You got that right. What did they score, like 55%? The top 4 guys scored like 55% of the points this year. So you take that with what you will. So we're going to be back to do check-ins for the playoffs, and we will probably come back next Monday to chat with you guys after the Big Wigs talk and see if anything's changed and add any thoughts we have, because I'm sure we'll think more about this team. And we'll still be watching hockey, so if you like any other teams, we're going to be talking about those too. Thanks, everybody, for watching with us today. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to our YouTube. Review the show, rate us 5 stars, all that good stuff. But this was at least post-mortem. And I'm lucky I made it through because, not going to lie, guys, I have COVID. And I'm sweating my fucking bag off here. Anyways, we'll see you guys for the next show. This was great. Till next time, peace.
Peace. I'm still here, don't worry.
Thanks for tuning in to Split the Defense.
Split the Defense.
Leafs Post-Game Edition. Hosted by Jordan Webster, Craig Pearce, and producer Ted Evans. Split the Defense is presented by LaForest Electrical Contractors. Professional and efficient service since 2004, serving the Kingston and surrounding areas.